Hello web developers, welcome to another project walkthrough. This time we will be walking through WATS3020, the sandwich machine project. So with this project, we're going to start it out the way that we start out all of our projects. We're going to fork the repository. So I'm going to fork it into my personal account on GitHub, and then we're going to read through the README file in order to find out everything that we need to do in this assignment. So reading through here, what we're going to do is we're going to create a receipt output of a sandwich order. So first thing that we need to do is gather some information from the user, and that's what it says here in the basic requirements. Then we're going to process that input to do a bunch of stuff with that data to determine the cost of the sandwich and to be able to use that data in different ways. Then we're going to reference the prices object that is provided in our JavaScript file that tells us the prices of all of the parts of the sandwich in our shop. And then we're going to insert the order details and calculate price into the provided HTML structure, which means that we're going to fill in a template literal with expressions that are going to provide all of the information for the receipt. So that's what I'm going to go over today, and I'm going to walk all the way through it. You can feel free to fast forward through some of the code bits if you don't want to have too much help with this. But if you want to just see what things look like, if you just clone this repo and load up the page, you'll see the end result that we're going for. So we'll take a look at that in a second. There are some stretch goals provided here. You could implement some kind of special deal logic that provides a discount. So, like first 2 toppings at this price, and then you get a discount on more toppings. Or you could do something like re-prompt them, say, oh, you've added 2 toppings, you qualify for a 3rd topping. That might require you to do a little conditional, which is a little ahead of where we are now, but that's fine. Or you could calculate like suggested tips at 10%, 15%, and 20%, and then you could add a line across the bottom of the receipt that gives the suggested tip information by adding that to the template literal there. So you could output that information as well. So there's a lot of ways to make this a little more interesting, a little more complicated. Nonetheless, let's start by cloning this project. So I'm going to go ahead and clone it. Then I'm going to go to my terminal, and I'm in my temp directory like always, and I'm going to run clone, and it will copy this project onto my machine. And I'm going to go into the sandwich machine directory here, and then I'm going to open up these files in Sublime. So here is Sublime with these files open, and I'm also going to run my simple HTTP server in Python so that I can pull up the site here on localhost :8000, and this is what the output of this project is. So right now it just outputs the static data, and you can tell that it doesn't really make sense. The tax is not right, the numbers aren't right. This is just meant to allow you to see, oh, this is what I'm going for in the end. So to get here, what we need to do is dive into all of these files that we just downloaded. So if we take a quick look at the index file, we see that it's fairly straightforward. Really, alert people will change the author name to their own name, but that's okay. I'm going to go through the CSS here. It's just simple CSS that creates that receipt look. Not too big of a deal. There's one image in here, which is the texture for the receipt paper in the background, but really the action here is in this main.js file. So in this file, you will be adding all of the stuff that you need to make this work. And basically, that starts here on step 1 with just setting up a bunch of these prompt commands. We can then see that on step 2 here, we are going to process all of the information that the user gave us. Here is the prices object, which tells us how much everything in our sandwich shop costs. And then we have some placeholders here to start things off, where we're going to need to convert information that people gave us. It's going to come in as strings, so we're going to need to convert some of those to arrays. we're then going to need to calculate the cost for the meats, the toppings, and the condiments. And then we're going to combine the costs to create a subtotal. We're going to use the Washington State tax rate because we are located in Seattle, and we're going to figure out what the tax is, and then we're going to figure out the total price by adding the subtotal and the tax. Then, in step 3 of the project here, we are going to insert all of this information into this template literal, and we're going to need to use proper expressions in order to insert this data into the template literal. So that is how it's all going to work. We have a couple lines down here that are just there to insert the template literal into the right spot on the HTML. That's for a future project to learn how to do the DOM manipulation required to make that happen, but you're free to take a look at that, and if you feel like being adventurous, you can change that code. But for now, I'm going to go through and start prompting the user. So to do this, we need to make some values. So I'm just going to call these like bread order, and I'm going to probably call it bread order, meat order, toppings order, and condiments order, just so that I know that those are what the user put in. And I'm going to use the prompt command there, and what I want to do is give the user a good prompt that will give them a good experience. So I'm going to say, what kind of bread would you like? And then in parentheses, I'll say white, wheat, or flat, as in flatbread, right? And so that will be that. I could also, if I wanted, provide a default value wheat. So if the user just hits enter, that's what it is. But that's a little extra. You don't necessarily need to do that. The next one is prompting for what kind of meat they would like. And on this one, we really want to let the user know that when they can enter more than one thing, they should separate those things with a comma. So I'm going to say let meat order equal prompt, and then what kind of meat would you like? And then I'll say separate multiple meats with a comma. So hopefully that will help the user know what they're supposed to do. And I'm basically going to repeat this for the next two. So the toppings order is going to also expect more than one topping. What toppings would you like? Separate multiple toppings with a comma. Of course, I've forgotten some semicolons here, which I do a lot, so I'll add those in. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the condiments order too. Okay, so now I've got all of the code in place to collect the data from the user that I need in order to work with everything, so I can move on to step 2, which is where I process these things. Now, what I can do is I want to turn each of these entries that people have given me for meat, toppings, and condiments. I need to turn those into an array so I can know how many things did they order. So to do that, I'm going to use the split function of a string. So if I have meat order, and if I split that on a comma, then it will give me an array of all the things that were done on the comma, right? Or all the things that were separated by a comma. So I can do toppings order dot split, and that also separates on the comma. And then I can do condiments order dot split and make that separate on the comma. So now I have arrays of each of these things. So the next thing that I need to do is figure out the cost for meat, toppings, and condiments. And so to do that, I essentially need to take these costs here, like meat costs 1, toppings cost 50 cents, and condiments cost a quarter. The meats are $1, I should say. Toppings are 50 cents. Condiments are a quarter. I need to convert that into a total cost. So in order to do that, I'm going to say that is the meat array dot length times prices dot meat, because that's the price of meat. So I don't want to just type in the number. If I change the prices, I should just be able to change that prices object, and I should still have my whole receipt and order taking mechanism still work. You would never hard code the price of an item in your store into the cash register. You have the cash register consult some kind of data that it uses to put that together. So I'm going to do the same thing. My topping array dot length times prices dot topping. And then my condiment array dot length time prices dot condiment. There we go. So so now I should have all my costs for the individual items should work. Now to get the subtotal, I need to add the cost of those individual items, but I also need to add the base price of the sandwich. So that would be prices dot sandwich plus meat cost plus topping cost plus condiment cost, and that should give me the total price of the sandwich. Okay, so now I need to figure out the tax on the product, which is going to be the subtotal times the Washington State tax rate. And that's going to give me the tax for my order. And then finally, I'm going to do the total price by adding the subtotal and the tax. So, but one thing that you might notice is that when we do this, we will often end up with numbers that have more than one decimal place. The tax itself has 3 decimal places. So when we do this, we might end up with numbers that are kind of ugly. So we're going to keep that in mind as we output things in step 3 here. So right now, we need to add expressions to this template literal to output all of this information that we've collected all the way through this entire script. So the first thing is going to be to output bread order. Oh, I forgot to do cheese. Okay, so since we didn't have cheese in our prices and everything, I'm just going to remove it from the template literal. That was an oversight. But we're going to move on. We're going to do the meat order. And then we're going to do our toppings order. And then we're going to have our condiments order. Okay. And then we're going to want to put in what is the base price for the sandwich. It is prices.sandwich. But it only says 5, and we want it to say $5. So we could hard code that, but we also could say to fixed 2 here, and that is actually using a method that is a part of the number that will allow any number can be changed into a number with a specific number of decimal places with this to fixed command. So that means that we can easily have that have 2 decimal points. So we're going to kind of do that on a bunch of these here. So we're going to say meat is meat cost dot to fixed 2, and we're going to replace the toppings here with now you notice that there's double dollar signs here. It's because we want a dollar sign to show up, but then we also need to use the dollar sign curly brace to actually indicate that it is a number, a dollar, on the receipt itself. So, and we do use a dollar curly brace to indicate that it's an expression. So that should be fine. Okay, so we've got all of the individual costs in there. So now we just need to put in the subtotal and the tax and the total. So subtotal dot, and we're just using this to fixed all over the place here to make sure that our numbers show up really nice. So and finally we'll do the total. And I just realized that I spelled that wrong, and that should be order tax. Cool. So now we've got all of these things filled into the template literal. We can save our code here. Obviously, it's helpful if you test your code beforehand, but I'm pretty sure this is going to work. Let's jump over to the web browser and see how it works. So I'm going to refresh. And what kind of bread would you like? And it puts wheat in there because we put that in there as the default, so I'll just say okay. What kind of meat would you like? We'll say turkey and ham. What toppings would you like? Lettuce, mayo, mustard. What condiments would you like? Oh, I guess mayo and mustard were condiments. Let me say Thousand Island. Oh, and we got a broken something. So let's figure that out really quick. Tax is not defined on line 69. Oh no, I made a typo. Okay, let's fix that. So let's go to line 69, subtotal plus tax. No, it's order tax, Sean. Oh, what a terrible typo. So that's good that happened because, again, you test your code. Anytime something breaks, you go into the console and you see if there's an error, and often the error is going to tell us right where the problem is, and it's going to say tax is not defined. And when we look there, you realize, oh, I should have used order tax instead of tax. So now let's refresh this, and let's repeat our order, and I'm going to go a little bit fast here. Oh, no, and now topping order is not defined. So I think I made another typo. So I was obviously going too fast. We called it toppings order and condiments order. So I was missing an S there. So again, that is, it told us line 83, and if we look right here, that happened right there on line 83. So I'm going to leave in these mistakes because I want you all to know that, it's important to be able to debug, and it's not the worst thing in the world when you debug. It's like the interpreter telling you what you need to do, right? And if you can, the better you can interpret those errors, the better off you'll be as a developer, because you'll be able to figure out what you did wrong and you'll be able to fix it quickly. And now that we fixed all those problems, we now have a decent little receipt here, which is accurate. So we have a sandwich for $5. We have meat, which is going to cost us $2 because we ordered 2 meats. We have toppings, which are $1 because we ordered 2 toppings and they're 50 cents each. And then condiments are 50 cents because we have 2 condiments and they're 25 cents each. So all of that total is $8.50. That math is correct. 6.5% of $8.50 is 55 cents. So our total here is $9.05. The to fixed has made everything look really beautiful here. And we have a nice little receipt that tells us exactly what we ordered, and it all works. So that is how we do this assignment. Now that we've got this assignment finished, I'm going to go ahead and walk through the deployment process here, just because I know it's early in the quarter and people often need a little bit of refresher there. So I'm going to run git status to see what's changed. I made those bug fixes in my main.js. So well, and I made all the changes in my main.js, so I'm going to commit that. Git add main.js, git commit -m completed assignment, git push origin. And then the next thing that I need to do is make a GHPages branch so that this can actually run online. So I'm going to say git checkout -b, which it makes a new branch when you check out, and that's going to be GHPages. And then I'm going to say git push -u to update the reference. Origin is the server that I want to push it to, and then GHPages is the remote branch, and GHPages is the local branch, or something like that. So it's going to connect to the GHPages branch remotely, and that will make everything work out there so that when I come back here, I can see that if I refresh, my branch is one ahead of where I cloned it from. I see my completed assignment, and if I go into settings here, I can scroll down and find the URL where it deployed this. And when I do that, I can order another sandwich. And here you can see that I came out to the same price again, but through a completely different way, because I ordered 4 toppings and only 1 meat. So there you go. That is the working assignment. It's all completed, and I hope this walkthrough was useful to you. Again, keep playing with things. Feel free to stretch this and push it as far as you want. It's something that you can have a little bit of fun with. So take care. Good luck writing JavaScript. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.